I believe we are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We needed to do a live show tonight. We need to talk about the aftermath of an incredible Week 2 results all through college football. Sun Belt owned Week 2. Notre Dame, Tyler Buckner's now injured. Drew Pine is the new quarterback. We can discuss that. And we're going to talk about the crazy speculation of Urban Meyer becoming the new head football coach in Nebraska. We are going to talk about that in full. We're going to go through the top 25. We haven't gone through that yet, the new AP poll 25. And anything you want to talk about in open discussion, anything you want to talk about. West Virginia, Neil Brown, is he going to survive? How long is he going to survive? I think they play Townsend this week. I believe they play Virginia Tech the week after that. And I see that Virginia Tech is already the favorite. Please let me know if everything's looking good in the chat. I believe we're looking good. First of all, let me just talk about this Urban Meyer speculation. I'm not buying it. I know a lot of people are buying it. I know a lot of Nebraska fans want this to happen because they want to win. They deserve a winner in Nebraska with a huge fan base, all those resources. I just hope they don't get their hopes up too high because I just don't see it happening. Urban Meyer, his last two college jobs were Florida and Ohio State. Both of those jobs, you have a recruiting bed right in your front yard and in your backyard. Urban Meyer, I'm not saying he didn't work hard. Yes, he's a hard worker. We know all of his issues, or we know some of his issues with his head and his brain and possible tumors, or cysts, I should call them. The stress of the job got to him. He basically had to leave Ohio State. Then we know what happened when he was the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was a complete, total mess. But I don't think I doubt that he even goes back into coaching. But if he does go back into coaching, is he really going to take the Nebraska job? I haven't slighted the Nebraska job at all. I think it's a great job. It's in the Big Ten. They have incredible resources. They're building another new practice field, athletic village or something for hundreds of millions of dollars. 90,000 people go to their games. They have all the resources in the world. But Urban Meyer, after being the coach of Florida, after being the coach of Ohio State, man, I do not see him taking a job unless a different job, a new job, unless there's a recruiting bed in his front yard and backyard, unless he can draw a circle of 100 miles around his campus of whatever job he has. If there isn't a high preponderance of recruits, of great athletes in that 100-mile circumference, I don't think he's taking the job. So I think Nebraska is not going to. I don't think Trev Alberts wants Urban Meyer. So I don't think Trev Alberts is. Are we okay with the video here, guys? Let me know, because I'm getting comments here. John Goodman, are you seeing me? Lewis Pop, are you seeing me? Because everything looks good. I'm getting questions, so. Okay, I'll take Lewis Pop's question. Urban Meyer won't go there, not enough strip clubs. Yeah. Okay, let me check this out here. Okay, now are you seeing me? All right. I think we're good now. Okay, I think we're back. Okay, my bad. We're okay now. Meyer won't go there. Not enough strip clubs. Yeah, I first of all, let's get back to what Alberts was saying. Trav Alberts, I don't think he's going to go after someone who's very mature. He's going to get someone who fits the Nebraska mindset. Urban Meyer at this point in career is not the answer for Nebraska. So I'm going to read an article right here about Outkick discussing Urban Meyer. This is from David Hookstead. Speculation is swirling that Nebraska Cornhuskers might hire Urban Meyer. The Cornhuskers are looking for a new football coach after firing Scott Frost this past Sunday following a horrible career in Lincoln. And Paul Feynman thinks Urban Meyer makes a lot of sense. There's really only one elite coach right now. I think that's capable of changing a program. I'll try not to completely throw out my breakfast as I utter the two words Urban Meyer. I'm not even sure he can do it, but I think he certainly, and since he'll be in Lincoln this weekend, maybe we'll get him to comment on it, Feinbaum said. Okay, so Paul Feinbaum says he believes Urban Meyer makes a lot of sense. He's saying that, I don't want to completely throw out my breakfast, but I'm not even sure he can do it, but he's the one guy who can turn this program around at Nebraska. We go on to Dan Patrick. Dan Patrick and his crew had a discussion about whether or not Meyer could end up wearing red and white coaching the Cornhuskers. While it sounds crazy to speculate about whether Nebraska will hire Urban Meyer, there's no question he's the biggest name on the market if he decides to get back into coaching. And then it talks about how he was just a disaster at Jacksonville. Again, I don't see it happening. I think Paul Feynman is sort of doing the passive-aggressive with this attack on Nebraska and the Big Ten, saying Urban Meyer is the only one who could turn the Nebraska program around. I do not believe that at all. There's a lot of good candidates. I've got some here on my hot board, 1.0, Matt Campbell, Bill O'Brien, Chris Kleiman. There's going to be others. I just think it's a crazy, crazy idea that Urban Meyer would take the Nebraska job and that he would actually be pursued by Trav Alberts. What I can say is I think Trav Alberts enjoys that people are speculating about Urban Meyer. It sort of heightens the job, right? It sort of gives it a higher status than maybe other people believe it is. So so Trav Alberts is enjoying the steam of Urban Meyer possibly being the new head football coach. But, if you go back to what Trav Alberts said at the press conference, the way he described who he wanted to be as a new head coach, it wasn't Urban Meyer. So, but let me know what you all think. So far, I've got people only saying that they don't think it's going to happen either. So, So unless someone brings up Urban Meyer, we're going to go on to the AP Top 25 poll. The new poll that came out. We haven't really dissected this yet. Tomorrow on my Tuesday episode, I'm going to be doing my picks, my grade 8 picks. So far, I'm 12-6-1 against the spread. That's a 66% winning percentage. Anything 60% and higher is great versus Las Vegas. So we'll see if we can keep that up. A lot of very interesting games this week. Lots of them. Washington versus Michigan State. Oregon versus BYU. Put down in the comments section of how you think those games are going to play out. But let's get to the AP Top 25, the new one that just came out on Sunday. As you can see, Iowa State got 4 votes after defeating Iowa. Auburn at 4. Wisconsin take a big tumble from 19th in the poll all the way to the bottom of the teams of the others receiving votes. They got 7 as they lost to Washington State 17-14. Texas Tech went up a bit after they defeated, at that point, number 25 ranked Houston. Air Force is legit out there in the Mountain West. Air Force at 19. Notre Dame takes a big tumble, and somehow they get 23 votes from the AP voters, and they're 0-2. And one of those losses was to Marshall. Notre Dame is 0-2. And one of their losses was to Marshall. And yet they get 23 votes. Man. Washington State, 30 votes. They earned it. They defeated Wisconsin. In Wisconsin. Great road win. My beloved Minnesota Golden Gophers with 37 votes. Yes, for Minnesota. I think we had 32 or 31 last week. So we climb up 6 votes. As the Gophers defeated FCS team 62-10. Minnesota has yet to play a team with the pulse. They have scored 100 points and they've given up 10. They're number 1 in the NCAA in total defense by a large margin after 2 games. They did finish 3rd in the nation in total defense last year, total yards allowed per game. So they got a legit defense. They got Mo Heisman, Mo Ibrahim. They're looking good. Oregon State, 42 votes. Florida State, 42 votes. Both are going 2-0. Mississippi State with a big win late Saturday night. North Carolina, 71 votes. I don't think they should be getting that many votes. Kansas State, 2-0. Chris Kleiman. Adrian Martinez, their transfer quarterback from Nebraska. He's struggling a bit. But Kansas State's got a strong defense. They got their running game going. Appalachian State with 80 votes with their epic upset of Texas A&M. Cincinnati, 80 votes. Marshall, just outside the top 25 with their historic win over Notre Dame. And then the top 25, you got Oregon. They got pounded in week 1. They play BYU. We're going to learn everything we need to know about Oregon here in the 3rd week against BYU. BYU, I believe, they're ranked number 12. Big game. Big game. Texas A&M, I don't know. Texas A&M, thanks, John Goodman. Thanks for letting me know you can see me. We had some technical difficulties at the start of the show, but we're back on track. Texas A&M goes down 18 spots in the poll. They're ranked 24th. Jimbo Fisher. We talked about this at the start of the season. For whatever reason, Jimbo Fisher's offense they can't make big plays down the field. He's got an offense. He's got a very difficult offense for these young men to master. His route trees, his passing concept. He's got all these receivers running routes that have multiple different options. It's difficult for the quarterback and the receivers to hook up. I know you've heard this all before, but Jimbo Fisher, he doesn't want to let go. He's the guy who calls the plays. I mean, how much money is he making? Does anybody know how much he's making? Put in the comments section. He's got like $100 and some million deal, I think, correct? And he cannot get that program out of the 1990s when it comes to passing. And they should be able to run the ball better, but they can't. They couldn't do anything against Appalachian State. Texas A&M, 24th. Pittsburgh loses a tough game. They dropped to 23. But they played good. They played good the first 2 weeks. They lost to a tough Tennessee team. People are finally catching on to Tennessee. Penn State, 22. They got the new quarterback in there. Texas, 21. Lost to 1 point to Alabama. They go up to 21. That's legit. They should be at 21. Maybe even a little bit higher. Sarkisian got that team going. The problem is Quinn Ewers got injured. I think he's out for the year. I think he's got a 5th, 6th degree sprain in his muscle up here or something, clavicle bone, whatever. I'm not a doctor, but I think he's out for the year. Their backup quarterback got hurt. So Texas has some short-term issues with the quarterback position, but that defense, they came to play against Alabama. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin's got that running game going. Wake Forest, Sam Hartman is back, the epic great quarterback of Wake Forest. And when he's playing, Wake Forest always has a chance to win. Florida drops down 6 spots. I thought they were a little bit too highly rated after their first week win against Utah. They drop back down to 18. They lose to Kentucky. Baylor loses a tough overtime game. The BYU, they dropped to 17. They dropped 18 spots. I think Baylor's going to creep back up the polls here in the next month. North Carolina State moves up 2 spots. They had a rough first week. They're my upset pick to win the ACC. They're at the 16th spot. Devin Leary threw 4 touchdown passes. I think he shook off that first week rust. And he's going to get on a roll here. Tennessee, my Tennessee Volunteers. Before week 0, I said Tennessee is going to finish second in their division, the SEC. They're going to go up the poll rankings. They weren't in the top 25 before week 0. People are catching on to Tennessee. Hendon Hooker. They're going to win a lot of games this year, and they got Alabama at home. They've got Alabama at home. Utah, 14th, rated 14th. I think that's where they should be. Still think they're going to win the pack. Miami of Florida, Van Dyke, their quarterback. He's a good one, and he's going to get drafted. 2nd, 3rd round draft pick, I believe, in the NFL next spring. Van Dyke, Miami is at 13. BYU's at 12. Michigan, we talked about them. Big game against Oregon this week. Michigan State, Mel Tucker. They're 11th. You know how much I think Michigan State's great this year. Gophers have a game at East Lansing, September 24th. That's going to be a big game. We'll talk about that in a future episode. Big game for the Gophers and the Spartans. Michigan State's at 11. Arkansas, what can you say? KJ Jefferson, he's my guy. I got him going to the Heisman. I got KJ Jefferson getting invited to the Heisman ceremonies. I think he's the Tim Tebow of Arkansas. What Tim Tebow did to the Florida Gators football program to elevate that program, I think KJ Jefferson's going to do the exact same thing for Arkansas. You call me crazy. You can put it down in the comments section. But I think KJ Jefferson is going to leave a huge impact on the Arkansas program. Kentucky's number 9. Got no problem with that. Oklahoma State, after a rough first week with their defense, they're at 8. USC 7, I think that's where they should be. Oklahoma 5, they're rolling. Clemson's rolling. Michigan's at the 4th spot. I think they should have been number 4 at the beginning of the year. They finally get there. Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, 3-2-1. I don't think anyone has any problems with those top 4, top 5 rankings. So that's the AP poll. We talked about Urban Meyer. I'm going to leave it open for you for open discussion. Any comments or questions you can put in the comments section. I do think it was such an epic week in week 2. Notre Dame, they lose to Marshall. Their starting quarterback gets injured. Their new head coach, Marcus Freeman, starts his career at Notre Dame 0-3. He loses the bowl game at the end of last season when Brian Kelly left. And I mean, no one can blame Marcus Freeman for that loss. Then week 1, they put up a gallant fight. The Irish did, and they lost to Ohio State Buckeyes. They played some really good defense, but they don't have the juice on offense. Again, not Marcus Freeman's fault, but now it's his issue. They don't have a wide receiver room. Their only real target out there is Michael Meyer, their great tight end. The quarterback just got injured, Tyler Buckner. He wasn't that experienced anyways. He had some experience, but he needed to develop. Now he's injured. Now he's out for the year. They got their new quarterback, their backup quarterback, Drew Pine. They got him listed at 5'11". He looks like he's 5'9". He looks like he's Doug Flutie out there for the Boston College Eagles back in the 80s, I think it was. Doug Flutie. That's what Drew Pine reminds me of. So Marcus Freeman loses. They lose to Marshall 0-3. I can't believe that he would be on the hot seat for Notre Dame. Not until this year's over. I mean, I don't think he's in danger. But what a tough way to start your career at South Bend. Very difficult. And they got a difficult road to hoe here. Very difficult road going into the rest of the season. Because what can they possibly do to adjust that offense to get more juice out of that? I think it's very difficult. West Virginia. Let's talk about West Virginia. I mean, it was incredible. It was like a nuclear explosion happened in week 2. Fan bases were just in shock of what happened to their team. West Virginia was favored by 13 points, playing at home against the Kansas Jayhawks. And we know that the Kansas Jayhawks program has been so low for the last 10 years. So low. They've been the worst college football program of all of the 65 Power 5 conference teams. They hired Lance Leipold. He led the Division III Wisconsin Whitewater to multiple national championships. Then he was hired at the University of Buffalo Bulls. The Buffalo Bulls play in the AAC, and he did a great job building that program up. And that's a tough place to recruit, to build up. Their football stadium still has a track running around the football stadium. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. I'm sorry, Buffalo's in the MAC. Buffalo's in the MAC, excuse me. Tough place to recruit. And then he gets the job at Kansas. A great hire for Kansas. And what is Lance Leipold doing? He's doing a sensational job. They're 2-0. Kansas is 2-0. And if you look at if you want to have some fun, look at the Big 12 standings, the current standings. They're at top. They're 1-0. West Virginia is 0-1. The other 8 teams haven't played a Big 12 game yet. They're all 0-0. But if you want to feel good, Kansas Jayhawks, I think you should feel good. I give you permission. You don't need my position. A lot of excitement down there. A lot of excitement for that. But going back to West Virginia. Neil Brown. Good guy. really one of the good guys in college football. Does a great job at Troy, small college down there in Alabama. Fantastic job. He beat Scott Frost in Lincoln, Nebraska. I can't remember what year it was, 2017, 2018. And now Scott Frost just got fired. He goes to West Virginia. Neil Brown is he's originally from Kentucky. Great cultural fit at West Virginia. West Virginia had Dana Holgorsen, a fine offensive mind, not probably a top-end head coach, but a great offensive mind. He had some success at West Virginia. His recruiting was very suspect. The effort he gave in recruiting at West Virginia in Morgantown was very suspect. He went on to go to Houston. West Virginia Lions, the athletic director, hires Neil Brown. A lot of excitement in Morgantown for Neil Brown because he looked to be the right fit, and what happens? He hasn't punched through. He hasn't gotten his signature win, and you can tell it's starting to. I think his total record is 17-20. Year 4, he had the COVID year in there. He's got himself a quarterback. They did some good work in the transfer portal. They got JT Daniels, but he's played pretty good the first 2 games. But what happened to the Mountaineers defense? They lost some guys in the transfer portal, and the guys they got in the transfer portal coming back to them have not clicked. They haven't produced. They haven't played, especially the guys in the secondary. The secondary is completely lost. I don't know how many yards Kansas got. If someone wants to send me that information in the comments section. But West Virginia got beat at home against the Kansas Jayhawks. Just an ugly defeat. I don't think Neil Brown can survive this. I don't think he's going to get fired tomorrow. He's definitely not going to get fired this week. It would have already happened. But they got a game, I believe it's Townsend. I believe they play Virginia Tech. If they go to Blacksburg and lose to another rival, they lost to Pittsburgh. If they lose to Virginia Tech and sandwich in between a loss to Kansas, I think Neil Brown is the next guy to be fired before the season is over. Which gets me back to Trev Alberts. People were surprised. I was surprised that Alberts fired Scott Frost before October 1st. Because on October 1st, Scott Frost's buyout would go from $15 or $16 million to $7.5 million. In other words, if Alberts, the athletic director in Nebraska, would have fired Scott Frost on October 1st, he'd only be paying Scott Frost $7.5 million. Now, today, I think he paid him $16 million, or yesterday. So why did Alberts do that? Why didn't he wait until October 1st? I think there's a couple reasons that he did it now, that he pulled the trigger a couple weeks early. Number one, Oklahoma's coming to town this week. Game's going to be on Fox. I don't think Alberts wanted his program to have the distraction of all the questions being about Scott Frost. Alberts wants the discussion to be around the players of Nebraska. Want to give them the best chance to win. I think another thing is, I think the most important part of this equation is, I think Alberts wants to cut in head of the line. Other coaches are going to be fired during the season. And I think Alberts wants to get in front of the line and start communicating with agents of potential candidates. He wants to get advice from former athletic directors, former consultants, or current consultants. He's going to get a third party, I believe, involved in the search for the new head coach, because he's got to get this right. That huge football program has been down for so long. This is going to be the 6th year in a row they don't make a bowl game unless they miraculously turn it around and go 6-6 this year. So I think you wanted to cut in line of all the other athletic directors who are going to be firing their coaches during the season. There's going to be a few more. It's not going to be just Nebraska. This is not a one-off. Other coaches are going to get fired. So Alberts is cutting in line, getting in line. So when we go back to the Neil Brown situation at West Virginia, athletic director Lyons at West Virginia, he's probably, it's tough to say this, but he probably wants to make sure he gets in line pretty soon as well. Get in contact with the agents, get the ball rolling, get it going. I know that's kind of cruel to say this, but yeah, Neil Brown's time at West Virginia is coming to an end. He could not get that signature win. And with this, you've got, of course, you got the issues of recruiting. You got committed players who might get uncommitted. That's what's worrying Alberts as well. In Nebraska, he's got a lot of good commits, a lot of good recruits, the 2023 class. But what if he starts losing them? People want to see action. So I think Alberts made the right call. I know it cost him some money. It cost him some money to make an early firing of Scott Frost, but I think he really had to do it for the good of the program. And plus, let's admit it, Nebraska has a whole lot of money. They have a whole lot of money. And they got the new Big Ten contract coming up, media contract for next year. So I think Alberts made the right decision. I was surprised at first because I was saying, we were all saying October 1st, Scott Frost last day, October 1st, but no, it happened this Sunday. So it was week 2 was devastating for a lot of programs. Notre Dame, Texas A&M. Again, we talked about it. Jimbo Fisher. By the way, Jimbo Fisher is a native to West Virginia. I think a lot of people would love to see Jimbo Fisher go to West Virginia. But then again, his buyout at Texas A&M has to be an incredible, enormous price because he's got a long-term contract, I believe, at Texas A&M. I believe he just signed an extension last year or something. And that, but there's something wrong there. He's got to give up the play calling at Texas A&M to get that program to the heights that they think they can get at. And I'm not sure about their quarterback, King. I'm a little iffy on that guy. They got a good running back, but they can't create any holes for him. So Texas A&M is struggling. Florida lost. I expected that. I actually predicted Kentucky to cover, and I think Florida's going to start sliding now. They're so thin on the defensive line. We talked about that earlier. In SEC, you have to have that defensive line to keep playing. I know I've gotten some questions on the Gophers previous episodes because people are asking me, especially Gopher fans, Greg, why are you not talking about the Gophers, your beloved Gophers? And this is the studio, Gopher by the Grace of God studio. So why am I not talking about the Gophers? Well, a couple of things. This is college football's peak around the corner. This is about a show about all of college football. It's not about the Gophers. It is, but Gophers is one of 131 FBS schools. This is not a show about just the Big Ten, even though the Big Ten is one of 10 FBS conferences. This is a show about college football. We talk about everything about college football. And quite honestly, the Gophers have not made much of an impact this year. They've played 2 teams. Neither of them had a pulse. And we knew that going in. They played New Mexico State. It just wasn't competitive. No one expected it to be. I think the final score was 38-0. 38-0. And then last week against Western Illinois, The final score was 62-10. And Western Illinois got a touchdown when Gophers had their third stringers in. Don't get me wrong. I think I predicted my Gophers to win the Big Ten West, to go to Indianapolis and play Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship. I predicted my Gophers to go to the Rose Bowl for the first time in my life, because I think Michigan and Ohio State are both going to the college football playoffs. But honestly, we haven't learned a whole heck of a lot about my beloved Gophers in the first 2 weeks. And who do they play this third week of the season? They play the Colorado Buffaloes. Colorado is bottom of the Pac-12. They do not have an offense. Their offensive coordinator, Mike Sanford, was Gophers quarterback last year, the guy that PJ Fleck fired. So it's going to be probably another non-competitive game. But I will say this about the Gophers. They got a legit defense. They were third in the nation in defense in yards per game last year. They're number one after 2 games this year, which doesn't mean much. They got a legit defense. They got a filthy secondary. Their secondary is tremendous. The player, Howden and Newman, the safeties, the cornerbacks, Terrell Smith, Justin Wally, second-year guy, freshman All-American last year. Their linebackers are so much better than I thought they were going to be. They were good last year, and now they're good this year. Cody Littenberg, the young guy, local guy here in Minnesota, northern suburbs, Anoka, he's coming on. The defensive line is young, but they're good. They're really good. They've just developed. Joe Rossi is the Gophers' defensive coordinator. He was the finalist, one of the 2 finalists to become the new defensive coordinator for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. But Marcus Freeman, Notre Dame, they hired Al Golden, the former Miami of Florida Hurricane coach. So the Gophers were this close to losing Joe Rossi, a brilliant defensive coordinator. Thank goodness we got him for another year. And I say another year because he's going to get a head coaching job soon. Probably start out at G5. Maybe he gets a Power 5 head coaching job. Either way, he's going to be, unfortunately, for us Gopher fans, Joe Rossi's going to be gone soon, in my opinion, my speculation. I have no intel on that. But he came this close to being Notre Dame's defensive coordinator. Brilliant guy. And of course, on the offensive side for the Gophers, my beloved Gophers, Kirk Shiraka, offensive coordinator. When he was offensive coordinator for PJ Fleck at Western Michigan. And you know what PJ Fleck did at Western Michigan? He finished his career there where they went 13-0. He became the head coach of the Golden Gophers. 2019, the Gophers went 11-2. Kirk Shiraka, offensive coordinator. Him and Fleck just fit perfectly. And then Kirk Shiraka went off to Penn State. Didn't work well with Franklin. They let him go after 1 year, which I think was ridiculous, but story for another day. Then Kirk Shiraka did some consultant work for West Virginia for Neil Brown, because that's where he lives. He lives in the Pennsylvania area up in there. Then, thank goodness, he's back at Minnesota. Kirk Shiraka. Tanner Morgan had the best year of any Gopher quarterback in the history of the Minnesota Golden Gophers in 2019. Him and Kirk Shiraka. Tanner Morgan is a 6-year senior. Kirk Shiraka's back. So now not everything is great for the Gophers. The special teams is questionable. It's always been questionable under PJ Fleck. So that's a big, big question mark. It hasn't shown up bad in the first 2 games, but the first 2 games haven't been competitive. So what can you say about that? I think they're a little thin at the wide receiver position. Ottman Bell, he's our leader. He's the Gophers' #1 target. Dalen Wright, still developing. The transfer from Texas A&M a couple years ago. He's got all the physical skills in the world, but he's not quite producing yet. And they got some other receivers, but they're just not quite where they were in 2019 in the receiver room when they had Tyler Johnson and Rashad Bateman. Bateman just caught a touchdown pass from Lamar Jackson today for the Baltimore Ravens. So the Gophers are not elite at the wide receiver position. Brevin Spanford is a great tight end. They're starting to use him. So, and of course, they got Mohamed Ibrahim, the great running back. Mo Heisman, fantastic running back. I consider him the second or best running back in the Big Ten between him and Henderson. So that's my thoughts on the Gophers. I haven't talked about this. I've had 43 episodes. This is like my 5th live show, and I've probably spent a minute and 30 seconds talking about the Gophers, probably less than any other team in college football, because honestly, there's been nothing to talk about. First 2 games, they played teams without a pulse. And I don't think I'm going to be talking about the Gophers after the Colorado game. So I don't think Colorado's going to be much. We got a question from Zachary Osborne. Appalachian or Marshall should be ranked. Okay, let's get back to the rankings here. Great question. A great comment. That wasn't a question. Zachary's saying Appalachian or Marshall should be ranked. Marshall, 85 votes. They just missed the 25th spot. Appalachian State, 80 votes. They just missed the... I agree. I agree. They both should be ranked. Why is Texas A&M ranked ahead of Appalachian State? Appalachian State 17, Texas A&M 14. Appalachian State defeated Texas A&M. That just happened Saturday. And where was that game played? Texas A&M, College Station. So why is Texas A&M ranked ahead of Appalachian State? I know you can get in too much, you can tangle yourself up with logic when you use transitionary logic and all this. But after 2 games, Texas A&M, that offense is dreadful. There's some serious issues with Jimbo Fisher's offensive concept. I've talked too much about that, but there's trouble down in College Station. Appalachian State definitely should be, and Marshall should be. They defeated Notre Dame. Where did Marshall defeat Notre Dame this Saturday? At South Bend in Notre Dame. Oregon, they lost 49-3 their first week. They beat somebody, I don't remember who, and nobody in their second week. Yeah, I would have definitely. Why not? Now, I do have to say, as I'm looking at this, 24 and 25 spots, Texas A&M and Oregon. Well, here's the deal. Appalachian State, Marshall, if they win this week, if Oregon loses to BYU, there's going to be a spot there. And I think Texas A&M is going to lose again real soon. So, question from John Goodman. Kansas win total over and under was 2.5 this season. Killing myself for not betting the over or not betting it. When I did my prediction segments for all the conferences, I mentioned that over and under for Kansas 2.5, and I said Kansas is going to win 3 games this year. I might have undersold Kansas. People thought I was crazy when I said they're going to win 3 games. They've already won two. And I can think of some teams they can beat in the Big 12. So, yeah, they're going over 2.5, John. Sorry about that. They're going over 2.5. One of the things that is confusing me about Kansas is what happened to Kai Thomas. I wish a Kansas fan would mention, get into the comments section here. Kai Thomas is transferred from the Gophers, man. He was great for he came in last year. It's his second year, redshirt freshman for the Gophers. He ran for 100 yards in multiple games. He ran well over 100 yards against West Virginia in the bowl game. Gophers defeated West Virginia 18-6, and Kai Thomas had a field day. And he was playing because Mo Ibrahim and Trason Potts, the first running back 1 and 2 for the Gophers, were injured early in the season. So Kai Thomas got the ball a lot, and he had a spectacular season. And he wanted to transfer because he saw that Ibrahim and Potts were coming back, and he wanted to play. He wanted to play a lot. He wants to play on Sundays in the NFL. So he wanted to transfer to Kansas State. Kai Thomas wanted to transfer to Kansas State. But then the Gophers got some evidence of tampering. I mean, it was legit evidence. It was in plain sight. Not going to get into the details about it. They filed some complaint to the NCAA. Kansas State pulled back the recruiting of Kai Thomas because Kansas State got in touch with Kai Thomas well before Thomas got into the transfer portal. So Kansas State pulled back. Kai Thomas is originally from Topeka, Kansas. So Kai Thomas then transfers to Kansas. And I know they've got that Neal guy. He's great. But I just figured Kai Thomas would be at least running back number 2 down there. And I figured he would just explode. But he hasn't gotten the ball. He in I don't know how many rushing attempts he has in 2 games, but they're not featuring him at all. That just surprises the heck out of me. Sometimes I don't blame these student athletes, these football players, basketball players, for getting in the transfer portal and transferring. Because they have to look out for themselves. They have to get themselves in the best position. And we don't always know why a student athlete is transferring. Maybe he's having issues at home. Maybe he's having issues in the school, legitimate issues at the school that he's at. Maybe it's just a better fit to go somewhere else. Maybe you want to go somewhere else to help your chances to get to NFL. We know there's guys in FCS football who have a sensational season, and because they were lightly recruited out of high school, so they go to a smaller school in FCS. They have a great year, and they want to elevate themselves some more, so they transfer. I see no problem with that. We have coaches switching jobs all the time, bettering themselves, bettering their families, getting a higher salary, wanting to go to the part of the country that they want to live in for whatever reason. And I think the student athletes should have the same opportunities. And I'm glad we're seeing that. So, getting back to Kai Thomas, I don't know what's happened. If any Kansas guy wants to beep in, please go ahead. Gophers, just like Bama, short on wide receivers. Gophers are just like Bama. Yeah. No, I don't think we're just like Bama. Bama is short on receivers, though. They are definitely short on receivers. They got that transfer, Jamar Gibbs, Georgia Tech. Thank goodness they got him. Transfer portal's going to be crazy. I think they got those windows set up, those exclusive windows now for a certain amount of time where players can jump in the portal. I think that's official, right? Am I wrong on that? And I think that portal now is sometime after the season, I believe, after the football season. I may be wrong on that. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments section. But yeah, Bama, short on receivers. It's a little scary. That win 2019 over Texas, I had a video on that, rapid reaction video. If you missed it, go back into my videos and you'll see it. We kind of do a deep dive into that game. Texas just shocked the heck out of me that they were able to tackle in the open field against Alabama. Texas hasn't been able to do that in 7 to 8 years. I don't care who their coach was. Tom Herman, I don't care who it was, they couldn't tackle. And suddenly, second year on this occasion, they were able to tackle. The defense impressed the heck out of me from the Longhorns. Again, I wish their quarterbacks wouldn't have gotten injured. Oh, that just hurt. When Ewers went down, Quinn Ewers, their highly touted quarterback, man, when he had a magical first quarter and he went down, and that just hurt. David M. Appalachian State are 12.5 point underdogs versus Troy. I can't. That's hard to believe. Is that true? How could Appalachian State be underdogs to Troy? Let's see here. I'm going to try to look it up. Well, that would shock the heck out of me. Yeah, I probably won't be able to find it. That's Tech, Boston College. No, that's not. That was last week. What am I doing here? I'll have to take a look at that. That surprises me. Yeah, Minnesota versus Michigan State on BTN. We deserve better. Yeah, I don't. That's a whole nother can of worms. I think, do we really want to open that up? Let's open it up. Yeah, so today they announced the time slots and where the game, what network the game is on for September 24th games. They announced that today. And Minnesota, Michigan State, 3:30 Eastern Time, 2:30 Central Time on the Big Ten Network. Again, the Gophers have already had two games on the Big Ten Network. I know Michigan State, like every Big Ten school, has to have a game, home game on the Big Ten Network, and maybe they figure this is the time for Michigan State to get theirs done. I don't know what station they were playing on in the first couple weeks. Yeah, that's the swinging gate game. I mean, if the Gophers go into Michigan State, and if they win that game, look out. In fact, me and my friends are already looking at plane tickets to Indianapolis, hotel rooms for Indianapolis, because like we did in 2019, early in the 2019 season, we bought tickets to the championship game, Big Ten championship game. We had hotel rooms. We had it all lined up because you could tell early on the Gophers were going to be right there at the end. And you can, even though the first two games were against teams without a pulse, you can tell the Gophers are going to be right there at the end this year. And you can get those tickets at Luke Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, and hotel rooms cheap if you jump in early. So jump in early, Gopher fans, because, I mean, look at Iowa. Iowa's not a threat. Can we just say that? Can we be blunt? Iowa's not a threat to win the Big Ten West. That offense is dreadful, and it's not going to get better. So let's just push that aside. Nebraska, come on. Are we being serious? Let's push that aside. Northwestern, they just lost to Duke. And they lost to Duke in Evanston. Duke? Come on. Push Northwestern aside. So you've got, who do you got left? You got Wisconsin, Purdue, Illinois. Purdue doesn't match up with the Gophers well at all. We played Purdue in Minnesota this year. They can't run. We can run. They got a great quarterback, best quarterback in the division, but we're going to beat Purdue. Brom can't beat Fleck. Push Purdue aside. So now it's up to Wisconsin and Illinois. Illinois is improving. Chase Brown, great running back. They've got themselves a quarterback. Tommy DeVito and Bielema is getting that program going. They've already lost to Indiana. They already have a loss in a crossover game that they probably shouldn't have lost if they wanted to win the Big Ten West. So, push Illinois aside. It's up to us in Wisconsin. Wisconsin just lost at home to Washington State. And Graham Mertz, he's not the answer. And Wisconsin receivers are not going to be helping them out. So, yeah, this is it. This is it. This is the Gophers' year. So, Gophers. Michigan State. Michigan State's a tough team, though. I think the quarterback is completely underrated. Peyton Thorne. They do have some significant injuries already. Their linebacker, Snow. They got, I can't remember the guy's name, but they have that great linebacker transfer they got from UNLV. He's just, I don't know, he's got like 6 sacks in 2 games. He scares me. But their defense is depleted already. So Minnesota, Michigan State on the Big Ten Network. It should be on a different station. But we got screwed once again, Gopher fans. So, Appalachian State is favored by 12.5. So we got a disagreement. Someone is saying Appalachian State is 12.5 point underdogs. Lewis Papp is saying Appalachian State is favored by 12.5. I have to think Appalachian State's favored by 12.5. Yeah, I don't think there's any. I'm pretty sure that's correct. Lewis Papp also says Bama hurt Ewers on purpose. I don't think so. I'm not even. I might be in the minority in this, but I don't even think that was a dirty play. I thought it was at first. I mean, it's a killer. It's a killer that he got that young man got hurt, but it was a rush. Quinn Ewers got spun around. When he threw the ball, he was kind of throwing on his back foot, and he kind of jumped up, and the guy hit him full force. It wasn't a shot to the head or neck area. It wasn't that high up. But just the momentum of the tackle when both guys were in the air and the Alabama guy hit him, just took him down to the ground. If I was a Longhorn fan, yeah, I'd probably be screaming it, but that was a dirty hit. But I really don't think it was. I think it was just a hard, unfortunate injury to a guy who looks he had a magical first quarter, and now he's out for the season. And now I think he's out for the season. I could be wrong on that. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments section. I think he's out for the year. And now next year, Quinn Ewers, who just finally got to play after sitting at Ohio State, he transfers to Texas. He has an incredible first quarter against Bama. He gets injured, and now next year, the Texas Longhorns are bringing in the best quarterback in the country out of high school, Arch Manning. So now Quinn Ewers has to battle against Arch Manning. The guy can't catch a break. I feel terrible for the guy. Maybe a fight for the little brown jug in the Big Ten championship game. God, that would be great. You know what? You shouldn't have said that, David M., because now I cannot... I will not be able to think properly for the rest of this. This wasn't supposed to be Gopher talk. This is college football's peek around the corner. But again, I haven't been talking about the Gophers since this channel started. For obvious reasons, there's been nothing to really talk about. Yeah, Michigan. Well, I have my prediction. I have Gophers versus the Buckeyes. But man, I love Michigan. I think they're great. I think the only game they lose to is Ohio State. And I think both those teams are going to go to the college football playoffs. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I think, Penn State's a threat. Michigan State, who I like, is a threat. But now Michigan State's had those injuries. I really think Michigan's got 8 home games this year at Ann Arbor. Michigan, J.J. McCarthy against the Gophers. That'd be great. I wonder if, let's just pretend here. Since we're just fantasizing here, just between you and us guys and gals, let's say the Gophers do play the Michigan Wolverines in the Big Ten championship game. Would Michigan put up the little brown jug? Because they have it. Would they put up the little brown jug? Would they put up the trophy in that game? In other words, whoever wins the Big Ten championship game and the little brown jug. You know what? I bet they would. I bet they would put it up. Because Jim Harbaugh, man. Jim Harbaugh is all about that. He's all about, he's an odd guy, but he's all about tradition. I think that would happen. That's a great question. I'm sorry. I might have been corrected here. Quinn Ewers might be out only 4 to 6 weeks. Sorry about that. Okay, so 4 to 6 weeks. That's good news then. That is good news for Texas. I don't have the schedule up in front of me. I'm wondering if let's check that out, because that's kind of important. Let's check out what their football schedule is here. Okay, let's go. Texas. Okay, so they won. They defeated Louisiana Monroe 52-10. They lost to Alabama 2019. They play a non-conference game again. This coming up Saturday against Texas San Antonio, and then their first conference game is against Texas Tech. Woo, that's a tough game. Texas Tech's got some juice this year. They're going to be on the road. Okay, so that's 1 week. That's 2 weeks. West Virginia at home. Okay, Texas should not have a problem with that. Now, this is if Card can play, and I guess he can play. But he got nicked up. The backup quarterback of Texas got nicked up against Alabama. That's 3 weeks. Ooh, that 4th week against Oklahoma. Could Ewers be back for the Oklahoma game? 4 to 6 weeks? Probably not. That's going to be tough. Then they play Iowa State. That's a winnable game. Then Oklahoma State. They would probably need Quinn Ewers to be back by October 22nd to really have a chance to compete, to get into that Big 12 championship game, to finish first or second. The Oklahoma game is probably, definitely the toughest game of those 4 to 6 weeks that he'd be out. Texas Tech would be a tough game, though. Texas Tech, you got to score. You got to score against Texas Tech, because Texas Tech is going to score against you. Although that Texas defense looks so good against Alabama. That's interesting. 4 to 6 weeks. He would have to be back for the Oklahoma State. Texas would probably need to win that game to get to the Big 12 championship. That is something that we're going to watch. Thanks for that information, Lewis. I appreciate it. Robert, Texas A&M always hyped, never performed season long. It was the same under Sumlin. Well, I don't know what I'm just bewildered by the whole Texas A&M thing, and I think what really has me. I mean, it's not going to get any better, right? It's not going to get any better. Let's go ahead and look at Texas A&M schedule. Now remember, I mean, they have a great defense, right? They have a great defense. They've had a great defense for quite a while. But geez, they cannot make any plays downfield. I mean, it's almost like, let's see here. What do we got? Okay, Texas A&M won 31-0 against Sam Houston State. Sam Houston State, are they still FCS, or was this their first year of FBS? I think they're still FCS, but they're moving up to FBS. Either way, small college, Texas A&M only puts up 31 points. Second game, Appalachian State, they lose 17-14. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. So this Saturday night, Texas A&M plays at home again, and they're playing the 13th ranked Miami, Florida Hurricanes with Van Dyke, right? The quarterback with a cannon. Texas A&M is going to have to score in that game. Mario Cristobal, the new head coach of Miami, Florida Hurricanes, he's got that team rolling. This is his first year. He's going down to College Station. Jimbo Fisher's got to make it happen. But that offense passing game is so archaic. Not archaic. Archaic's the wrong word. It's too complicated. It's too much moving parts. And Jimbo Fisher doesn't want to simplify it. When you watch a Texas A&M game and you see Jimbo Fisher with all these, he's got about 6 of these pieces of paper, all these plays, and, I think he's got 5,000 offensive plays in 4,000 formations. I think the guys cannot master, Texas A&M players can't master anything that they do because they try to do too much, especially in the world of college football, where you only have so much practice time. There's rules against practice time and all that. So they play Miami, Florida, and then they play Arkansas. 10th ranked Arkansas, with KJ Jefferson and Raheem Thomas, the running backs, going over 100 yards Raheem Sanders from Arkansas. Texas A&M, they're going to have to score 28 points to win that game. They play Mississippi State October 1st, and then they play Alabama. They're on the road. I mean, Jimbo Fisher, he's dug himself a hole at College Station. That loss to Appalachian State, that just, boy, the more I look at this schedule, October 8th, thanks, Lewis. Texas A&M, Alabama. Texas A&M's in trouble, and it's going to be, can you imagine the atmosphere at College Station this Saturday night? Miami, Florida goes down there. If you want to see a very good, fun, hype video, I guess you'd call it, or a diss track. I guess it's called a diss track. I'm an old man. I'm 54 years old, so I don't know much about diss tracks. But go to YouTube, Coach Coop, COACH, Coach Coop. I think it's COOP, Coach Coop. Miami, Florida, super fan. Is a beautiful, big YouTube channel. He put out a diss track against Texas A&M. Go watch that video. Go to his YouTube channel. Pretty fun stuff, even for an old guy like me. For you young guys out there and gals, you'll love it. So Miami, Florida's hyped. New coach, playing great. Texas A&M's in a lot of trouble. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you for joining our live show, Peek Around the Corner. Sorry about the technical difficulties at the beginning of the show. We're still trying to smooth this out. I think we'll get better and better as the weeks go on. We just passed our 1 month of being a YouTube channel. So we're a very young channel, and we're this close to 1,000 subscribers. The growth of this channel has been unbelievable. Please hit the like button if you like our content. Subscribe to our channel. It helps us so much with the algorithms. And please share the video. I've enjoyed this. This is the aftermath of week 2, an epic week in college football. And we had to talk about the crazy speculation of Urban Meyer becoming the new coach of Nebraska. Come on, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. One of these 3 names. That's what I got right now. One of those 3 names: Campbell, O'Brien, or Kleeman. Not Urban Meyer. Well, until next time, from all of us at Peek Around the Corner to all of you, please, y'all take care of each other. Thank you so very much.